Greetings, members. If you would, the General Service Administration meeting is now called to order. Clerk, can you call a roll, please?
Okay, Counselor
Now, I guess
Martin,
that's 5:30.
Counselor Martin. Turn your microphone back on, Counselor Martin. Counselor Martin, please turn your microphone back on. Counselor Smith.
What did you say?
Okay, we're calling the roll. Counselor Martin.
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you fine.
Okay. All right. Here, present.
Counselor
Wait,
Smith,
wait a minute, Tracy. We went out here for a second. Hold on 1 second.
you're fine. You're perfect. Don't
No,
touch
we can't
anything.
see. We can't see anything. We can't see anything.
I got you 1 second.
Hold on 1 second.
It wasn't you, it's the screen.
Just push the screen on.
Right
Here,
here.
move, stand up for a second. It wasn't you. Here, come on here for a second. Let me change this down. So the sound is still on, so.
All right, Counselor Smith,
Present.
Counselor Austin.
Okay.
Present.
All right, that's right.
Number
Okay,
7,
Yes.
arch with an orange pop.
Okay. Thank you.
Catch
Would you
all
hit
the others.
this? Was it this or this one?
This one, never hit that.
Come on, Gowdy. Did you call Gowdy?
oh, she's not on the committee.
All right, but make the record that she's
And I
present.
will, I'm going down. I want to make sure you were ready. Counselor Gowdy is present
Leave that open, man.
and Mayor King.
And the
also
$3 McNugget bundle, sweet and sour sauce.
Yes, but let Heather. talk
Oh,
about
my goodness.
how
We
it's
also have the mayor with us. We have Chief Gardner and we have Sergeant, oh, I don't want to mess up the sergeant's last name, McClamrock.
Correct.
All right.
What is Heather ordering?
sweet and sour.
Well, we'll now
All right.
have remarks from the public, 2 minutes on agenda items only, please. Thank you.
Right here.
Oh.
Right here. This is where it's here. Right here.
We'll now have remarks from the public, 2 minutes on agenda items only, please. Okay,
Hearing
hearing
none.
none. Okay,
Hello, hello,
then we have a presenter. Yeah, is there one of our great public speakers?
hello,
Is that you,
hello.
Mayor? Mayor King,
Hi,
how are you,
Mayor.
sir?
We can hear you.
Okay, now we have a presentation.
Yeah, hold on
this
for a
evening.
second.
Okay, we'll stand by.
Boy, today's the day of, it's the heat.
I got this thing. Wait a minute. My apologies, council. I don't even know if it was here. Here we go.
Thank you very much for your patience to this point. As the mayor starts to get the last part of his video together, we want to see if we can have our presenter, our mayor, are they presenting from your office today, or where are they doing a presentation from?
Hi, Miss Willa. Chief, this is for you and for Sergeant McClamrock regarding fleet of vehicles.
Yes, and thank you, Madam Clerk. Thank you, Council, for allowing me the time to present this. Residents of East Cleveland, hello. There's been some questions relative to the purchasing of our vehicles and the status of our current fleet. And instead of speaking in hypotheticals, I thought it would be far more beneficial to have Sergeant McClamrock speak on this topic. Sergeant McClamrock heads the police fleet and has the best knowledge of the status of the vehicles. There were several questions that were posed by Councilman Martin. I do believe Councilman Martin was able to tour the fleet with Sergeant McClamrock, but Sergeant McClamrock, if you could go ahead and express to council the status of our current fleet and the need of these vehicles.
I don't think we're on mute.
Good evening, everyone. So I want
Good
to
evening.
talk about our current fleet. Currently, we run 13 cars. We try to, at least, I should say. On average, right now, we really only got 3 to 4 cars that are actually up and running. We have 9 cars that are over 7 years old with over 80,000 miles on them. Now, I also like to, if anyone knows anything about mileage, sometimes you can't go off of mileage and you have to go off the hours of the engine life and hours on the vehicle. Average person, myself, you guys that drive, we basically put maybe 1,000 hours or so a year on your car. That's driving to work, driving to gas stations, grocery stores, and everything. On average, as a police officer currently in our city, we're putting approximately 4,300 hours on a vehicle. And I'm actually being sort of kind with that because I'm only going off of 16 hours or so per shift, when reality, we're driving these cars 24/7. They rotate from the first shift to the second shift. That being said, like I said, especially the 9 cars that are over 7 years old, they're structurally becoming unreliable. We're becoming to get into a lot of issues of pure failures of transmissions, engine.
I know you like to
Getting underneath and look at the cars, the frames are becoming structurally unstable.
Or McClaren, can you talk about some of the maintenance issues that may actually require immediate replacement of any other vehicles and the economic feasibility? So if it costs $3,000 to fix a vehicle that's only worth $2,000, that's not good economic feasibility.
Correct.
So if you could talk about some of those issues that would kind of put us in a position where we would kind of, I don't want to say be forced, but strongly encouraged to do something for economic benefit.
So we'll talk about the 9 cars. Majority of our fleet, it's over 7 years old. You have a lot of the vehicles that check engine lights are on. They're becoming to where the emissions control systems and everything is beginning to Can you guys hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, sorry, I was getting a lot of feedback.
Yeah.
We're also with airbag, what we call in police work the black box, which is the air. If an officer is involved in an accident, the sensor goes off, alerts the black box to deploy the airbags. We got a lot of vehicles with airbag lights on too, which is a very big concern to me, because if we get in an accident, there is a chance that the airbag will not deploy, which is, I mean, that could be life or death for an officer. There's been times, me personally, I've been driving down the road and my car has broken down trying to respond to a call where the transmission's given out. I mean, these are just things that are constantly happening, and constantly our vehicles are in the shop. I mean, they're getting old, worn out.
Sergeant, are you able to I think the councilman Austin was basically trying to ask the question relative to the cost, the benefits. I mean, is it cost beneficial to continue to fix these cars or purchase new cars? Can you give us a little in depth in that?
So out of the 9 cars, roughly with 100,000 miles, 80,000 miles, being 2014 and older, On average, at the auctions, you're probably getting $1,000 to $1,500 out of these cars. The money we've recently put in to these cars, it's becoming the engine failure. We've had a couple of those. That's, $4,000 to $6,000. It all depends. Transmissions are actually starting to go out. So that would be another, I would say, $4,000 to $5,000 to replace. I believe we have 2 cars sitting in the lot right now with blown transmissions.
Can I ask the question about how much more of your presentation with a lot of questions?
Councilman Austin,
So
you
if you could be
faded
so
out.
kind as to, advise on the number. Okay. I was asking if you have a detailed presentation, or the presentation can be led by questions that are asked from the council.
He'll be like, I'd rather you guys just ask questions so I can answer them.
Okay, great. My next question is, as you're looking at the number of vehicles that are available per shift, is that sufficient to carry the shifts without sacrificing a patrol officer or forcing officers to have to ride in 2 per car?
I'm sorry, you are breaking up really bad.
Of the vehicles that are available per shift, is it sufficient? And does that guide the way you ride, whether it's a 1 officer vehicle or 2 officer per vehicle doing a patrol?
Well, we usually patrol 1 officer per vehicle. And right now, we're looking at, on average, of only having 3 to 4 cars up and running, and a shift of 6 to 7 officers, to where we can't even put all the officers in their own car to go out and patrol. Now, the first part of the question, I'm not sure if I caught because it broke up.
You did catch the whole question and you answered the whole question.
Okay.
And what I would like to see this evening is a recommendation for the best, I guess, coverage and or service to the public, or maybe I should say to our residents as we go forward. So if we had this number of vehicles and this iteration, because we can't afford to outfit the entire police department in one fell swoop. However, if we forecast and or plan it correctly, we should be able to get the amount of service to cover the city so that, the few vehicles we have available won't become in the same position that the other vehicles are in right now. Your thoughts?
Okay. Well, my recommendation, and I understand purchasing a whole fleet is out of the question probably at this time. Due to where we're standing right now, I would request a minimum of the purchase of 4 patrol cars to get us up in a safe area. And then from year on out, purchase of 2 cars each year until we can get to the point where every 2 years we're replacing a car. So every 2 years, the cars go out of service and we're purchasing another car to replace that car. So an actual rotation schedule.
And as I get a little bit smarter, we have been leasing to own vehicles recently. So what I would like to do is see if there's a possibility we kind of carry a lease, and that way we don't have to worry about the condition of the vehicles. We have to, hopefully there's a high mileage opportunity, since this is indeed a force that, provides for the life and sustainment of a community. What are your thoughts about that?
I would personally love to see the department go into a leasing agreement with a manufacturer. That's where the chief or the mayor would have to weigh in. I don't know if currently we are actually leasing any vehicles right now. I think they are all outright purchased.
Yeah, we are leasing vehicles right now. They are leased to own, or leased with the option to purchase. So, and again, if the rotation is such that it appears almost in a lease window, we may look a little bit more at the leasing of vehicles in total, so that the city doesn't have to carry the full burden of paying the vehicle. And by the time the vehicle is paid for, it's time to replace it. And that sounds like an opportunity to have us with a better lease option, if you will. So more to follow. Thank you very much. And what else do you have that would be good for the order to know about the safety of the officers? I heard you say that you personally have experience where a transmission went out and it caused, you know, could cost somebody their life. So
Correct.
that is how critical having a dependable vehicle is for the police. I want the police to come when I call. I do. I don't want them to have to worry about whether the car is going to start. I need them to get there to take care of our people. So
Correct. And I
this is a
100%
critical
agree with
discussion.
you
I
on.
want you to express it in a critical way so we know the facts. You don't have to sugarcoat it for us. We want the facts. How does not having these vehicles impact your rotation, impact the safety provided by the police department for our community, period?
Without police vehicles in our day and age, officers cannot respond in a timely manner. We just can't. We cannot get from one side of the city to the other, especially during a shooting when possibly someone's laying there that needs medical attention, which we do render aid a lot of times prior to the ambulance getting there. If we don't have an running vehicle, or if our vehicle does break down, which they have, that person could and will die. And that's where
I want to give my colleagues an opportunity to address their concern. I am exceptionally concerned, and I do indeed support making sure that those that need the resources have them. So I am putting on my boxing gloves right now to fight to make sure that we have the resources on the road to do what needs to be done to make sure our residents are safe. Councilor Smith, you have anything?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you, Chief, and thank you, Commander, for your service. I just have a question. What's the ideal number of vehicles that you all would be comfortable with to be able to serve the people, the number of police fleet vehicles in the fleet, the total number that you all would be comfortable with?
Councilman, if I could interject, Sergeant.
Go ahead, Chief.
Currently, we have 6 vehicles, I believe, in front of council, 2 Tahoes and 4 Ford Interceptors. I believe we would be comfortable at that point. I believe Sergeant Clamrock can expand a little bit if he likes. Most departments, again, as Sergeant McClamrock was expressing, have a vehicle rotation. And if we were able to get 6 of these vehicles at this point, which I believe are currently before council, we would be able to start into that vehicle rotation. Is that correct, Sergeant?
Correct.
Thank you.
I think it's only 2 vehicles before us right now. I didn't see the 4 intercepts yet.
Yes, I'm sorry. It does appear there's only 2. I believe that there is another 2 Tahoes that are before council. They may already. I think they are actually they were supposed to be on the first read for the council meeting that was postponed.
Okay. Councilor Martin?
Yeah, I need some clarification here. My feeling is I'm in favor of getting 3 to 4 vehicles, but the legislation only is indicating 2. So Chief Gardner, where are we at this point? So I'm not confused.
Councilman, the first, I believe the 2 Tahoes that we were requesting, I believe they were actually on for the first read of the normal council meeting, but that was postponed. I don't think any of the legislation was gotten to. So the 2 Tahoes were on, I believe, are before council for first read, and then the 2 Ford Interceptors are on this resolution for this committee.
So that's 4. So what about the other 2? You said 6.
I mean, you asked ideally. We're just trying to get 4 at this point. I mean, obviously, if council is able to allow us for 6, we would be more than happy. But right now we just have the 4 up for legislation.
Well, is Brandon on? Brandon King here. My question to Brandon is, with this 26 million we got coming, are we able to get 6? Let's go in and get them now, because we don't get this money, continue to get this COVID money. So my question is, and this is being positive, let's get the 6 now, if we have the money, if we can use the money out of the COVID money, let's go in and get you 6 now. And that way we're ahead of the game. Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
He's right there. He hears you.
I don't hear him.
He hears you.
Can you hear me?
He's there.
Can you hear me?
You're talking to me?
Yes,
Yes.
Mayor King, he's talking to you, sir.
Yes.
I'm sorry, I didn't know you were talking to me.
Okay, here's what I said. We got 2, basically, and correct me if I'm incorrect, 4 vehicles. And what I'm suggesting, and I'm feeling Ernest Smith and Austin, I'm suggesting we get 6. We have a total of 6 vehicles. That way we're almost up to where we want the fleet are. And my question to you, Brandon, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, my question to you, can we get the money out of the COVID money? Can we get 6 vehicles out of the COVID money?
So what we can do is we can pay for the 6 vehicles out of the general fund. So we have money in the general fund to buy the 6 vehicles, right? We have 2 in front of you Tahoes, and we have 2 Ford Interceptors. If it will appease council, we can change the 2 Interceptors to 4 Interceptors.
Well, that's what. But my question, Brandon King, is we can't use any of that money to get these vehicles. That COVID money we got coming this year. Can we use some of that money? If we're not gonna get this money again, this is gonna be the last year we get this money. So if we can get 4 Interceptors with the COVID money, we're ahead of the game. Can we do that? That's my question to you, Brandon King.
Councilman Nathaniel Martin,
Yes.
your question is, can we use the new coronavirus money
Right.
that's coming to buy vehicles?
Yes.
So as of right now, the answer is no. Per the guidelines, no. However, we don't need to use that money. If you, as a body, want to buy 4 Interceptors, we will prepare legislation, right, that says 4 Interceptors, and we'll send it down to you. Or you can just take this legislation here and add another piece of legislation, give it a new number. You got 2 here and 2 there, that's 4. If you want 4, we'll get you 4.
Well, I want you. I am in favor of getting 4, but I'd like for you. Okay, I'd like for you to use your gifts, skills, and talents to see if we can use some of this COVID money to get the 4.
Sure. No.
Because it's a health and safety issue. Okay, and if I think it's doable. In the meantime, I'm suggesting to the people on this committee, since this technically is a health and safety issue, that do they feel the same way I do? I'd rather for us to go in and get these 4 Interceptors and the 2 Tahoes now while we got this money coming in, okay? Because we're not getting this money no more, okay?
Can I make a note? Hey, Councilor Martin, hold on one second. Let me make a note.
Yes.
So
as you know, that there has been hold on one second. Who was that speaker? Is that the law director?
Yeah, I would suggest that, you not spend money. Right. Thank you. I would suggest you not spend money you don't have. We don't really know what we're getting or how much yet. And that's still up for.
That's not what.
Law director, can you hear me? Okay, law director.
Yes.
Law director, I'm asking you to prepare legislation for 4 Interceptors. 4 Interceptors. So council.
Hold on one second.
Austin. Councilman Austin.
Mayor King. Yes, hold on one second. Before we go too far, too fast, I wanted to remind the highly motivated, focused, and driven Councilor Martin that we recently got some new systems. So the vehicles that we're talking about that are in service are truly systems that were purchased within the last 2 to 3 years. I'm talking about beautiful Tahoes, other beautiful systems. So as we start looking at our wish list, we have 4 in the system right now to be purchased. And it is my interpretation that with those 4 plus what we already have would make the shift complete. However, looking in the future,
thank
the
thee
wish
for
list
what?
will reflect 2 additional intercept vehicles
Gracious
for
Lord, we
the
thank thee
patrolmen
for
to,
what?
execute the task.
Gracious Lord,
So
we
this is
thank
a opportunity to work it into the rotation while we're,
Gracious Lord, we
lacking,
thank thee.
other areas in the city that are critical areas, like ambulances for the fire department, which we haven't even got to yet. So we have 3 ambulances available doing normal operations, but we only have 1 operating right now. We're operating off pickup trucks right now. So there's another item that I want to address as a critical emergency, whatever we have to do. Because not only do we have to respond to the shooting, we also have to respond to the fires and the emergency medical requirements of our residents. So we only have 1 fire truck correction, 1 ambulance working right now. So before we buy 2 vehicles that would be nice to have, I would rather look at getting us another ambulance that we must have right now. So that's another item that we have to have on the table. Health and safety issue that I'm banging on my truck right now, saying we got to get it. And so that's why I'm saying, if you could be so kind as to suppress the desire for 2 more intercepts. And let's take a look at the other requirements of the city, which I'm trying to make sure we keep the full spectrum addressed. We have to get some ambulance assistance. And this may be the opportunity to really chime into that. So yes, I do support the legislation before us, saying let's get 2 intercepts now. Let's get the 2 Tahoes that we already have in the system. And now we have to focus on getting us an ambulance immediately. Because right now we're having to call for a pickup truck to go see if it's ambulance worthy as an emergency. Correct me if I'm wrong, Mayor. And then we have to call for one of our neighbors to come in and save our folks because our ambulance is down. So we don't want to have a ambulances on, crippled, if you will, and have a police car that's looking phenomenal. No, we want to be able to have a balanced approach to saving our folks. And thank you, Mayor King. If you could comment on that, I really appreciate it.
Thank you, Councilman Austin. Mr. Chairman, the fire chief is on the line, and I like for you guys to hear it from the heads of the departments. Fire Chief Worley, are you still on the line?
Yes, sir.
Please enlighten us as to what's going on with our vehicles.
Hold on 1 second before we go there, because you just jumped past. My question was, we need to find out, both chiefs, but this is only administration, can we use some of this money we got coming in for the last time this year? We can take care of all of it. We can get the total 6 vehicles, the 2 Tahoes and the 4 Interceptors, and whatever the fire need, we can get that too. So the question is, can we get that? We're not gonna get this money anymore. So and then this is really a health and safety issue. And I'm not gonna argue, I get tired, this should be in health and safety, but I'm not gonna go there. Okay, so if we got this money coming in, we're not going to get it anymore. June 2nd, we're taking off masks, so it's coming to an end. So if we can get them now, and the other part I wanted to deal with all our vehicles is repair. I know we have the guy who's worked real well over the last 20 years fixing our cars. If you lease them, if you lease these vehicles, do that cover repair when the vehicles begin to break down? I went out with Tyler a few days ago and looked at the vehicles, and they do have high mileage. But this is a once in a life opportunity. So what I'm asking, without being talked over half the time, is let's look and see what our options are. Can we look and see what our options are? See, can we get this done now?
Excellent. Nobody's talking over Councilman Martin. If I could jump back in
Yes.
a little bit before we bring in the Chief Worley. If it will appease City Council, as of to date, we have not received a letter of the award amount or a letter of what all can be done. We've been giving interim guidance as to what can be done, and it is not on there that you can buy vehicles. We have not been given a final, nor have we been given the amount. If it will appease council, and we've done this before, we passed legislation with the understanding that if the funds are available, execute all of it, execute all 4. If the funds aren't available and you say, hey, just get 2 of them, then I can just get 2 of them. Or we can just leave the 2 up there. It's totally up to council. Totally up to council.
I can live with, I can live with, hold it, I can live with that. I meet in 2 weeks. Okay, we should know by then. Okay, but we need to carpe diem this time. Okay, we're not gonna get this money. We need to seize the moment. All right, and that way, not just police, but fire too.
Excellent. Can we bring in the Chief Worley now? Thank you, Chief.
Go ahead.
So this is Chief Worley here. So as the mayor brought out, we right now, this very moment, we are running with one squad in the city. Our other squad died on us en route to a hospital call that we were en route dropping a patient off at the hospital. Fortunately, our guys were able to get it up to the ER door, but that was as far as it would go. It sternly was towed out. And so at this moment, we're doing what we call a car chase. It's something that's commonly known in the EMS world. Cleveland EMS does it a lot. But they're able to do it because they have a lot of ambulances on the road. And so somebody goes out to see when everybody's busy. So right now we're using our new vehicle, 153. It's our utility vehicle for fire prevention. We have 2 medics on there, and their job is to go out. If they can go ahead and deal with the patient and transport them in the vehicle, this would be somebody who is able to ambulate on their own, who can sit up on their own, who's not a major EMS call, but we want to get them to the hospital because they're one of our residents. That's what they'll do. If not, they'll be able to keep the patient stable until our squad becomes available if they aren't tied up, and then they'll go ahead and get them there. If everybody is out on a call at this moment, then what we would do is we would call mutual aid. Now, mutual aid is just an agreement that we have with our surrounding cities. It's not an automatic aid. A mutual aid is where we have to actually call them and ask them what they come down. We have mutual aid with everybody as far as EMS is concerned, with everybody except for Cleveland Heights. Cleveland Heights will not reciprocate EMS, but they will help us with fires. And there are reasons behind it, but everybody else will. So we'll call down a list. We'll hit UH first, University Heights, South Euclid, the city of Euclid. And that's how Mayfield Village has come down, Mayfield Lyndhurst, all the surrounding cities we can call them, but we have to go down the list. We try not to utilize them heavily. Since I've been in office, I was able to repair a lot of our relationships with the chiefs, and was able to talk to them and tell them that we're trying to do some different things. And so they've been very helpful and willing to help us, as long as they understand that we cannot be their main go. Sorry about that. And so that's what we make sure of, is that we have this available for our residents in place. So if you have any questions, feel free to.
What is the name of the vehicle again, Chief?
The mayor was able to get us a vehicle for fire prevention. It's we call it just a utility truck. It's numbered 153, and what that truck is used for, our fire prevention officer goes out and does his inspections and whatnot, or if we have to go to another department to grab supplies, because right now, because of FEMA, different supplies are being shipped to other departments, we'll use it for that. If we just want to send one person out to go check on something that's not serious, we'll tell them just take 153. But right at this moment, its only use is for EMS.
Is this Chief Ward, is this a brand new vehicle we're using?
Yes, like I said, the mayor was able to get this for us. It is a brand new 4-door pickup truck with an enclosed cab.
So is that the only one we have?
Other than the command vehicle that the OIC uses for the day, whichever OIC is there, yes. So, but that's what we're using as our EMS. Our backup squad is currently out being serviced. Unfortunately, we didn't think our new squad, that's what went down, as our brand new squad. We didn't think we were gonna have any issues with that, but our backup squad was out being serviced. Normally, if this was to happen, we just go and switch out, but that wasn't the case. Hopefully this squad will go ahead and be ready to go. We're hoping by the weekend, at the latest Monday, if necessary. The parts came in. Part of the issue was we had to wait till money was put in place to be able to get this squad fixed, but that money was put in place, and so now it's in the process of being repaired.
Do you guys repair your own vehicles, or is it the same person that repairs the police vehicles? Is that the person repair your vehicles too?
That's a negative. What we do have is what we call a superintendent of equipment. What he does, he's a diesel mechanic, in addition to being a firefighter, but he's able to do minor repairs because these are heavy duty vehicles. Lots of times they have to go up on lifts that can hold these things or have the equipment in there. So he can do basic things, but when something like this, internal electrical computer, we have to send that out. Right now, both ambulances are at a company called Powerline, and they do our repairs for us. They actually have, they've been working with us. They come out and get the tow for us. So the both vehicles are there currently.
So, Chief Worley, at this point, what is the most important need for the fire at this point?
Well, if we can get a squad today, that would be the most important thing right this very moment. But we know that's not doable at the very moment. But we are in need of a newer squad. That way, the plan is if we have another squad in, we can constantly have these squads on a rotation for maintenance checks and repairs. And our second priority is a fire engine. Our current main frontline fire engine is engine 111. We've had it probably since about 2012, 2011, somewhere. No, I'm sorry, take that back. 2002, 2001, somewhere like there is when we got this fire engine. It really will not make it past this year. And that's just being very honest with you. So if we can get money for that, to get that accomplished, that would be a huge thing. It's something that we need.
So between the new squad, what you call the new squad, and the fire engine, which is the top priority?
Honestly, sir, because we are down to one squad, they both are. But like I said, the engine 111 is the good thing about the squads. We're going to have both squads back in service soon, hopefully. Hopefully so. I know 142 definitely will. The fire engine, like I said, our mechanic who currently works on it, he's been a godsend because he can fix things and piece things together. And he's been holding it together, but he's saying very honestly, this fire engine is not going to make it throughout by the end of this year.
How much does it cost to get a fire engine?
That's a whole nother question, depending on the specs of different things. Our current fire engine that we have this time is equipped to carry 1,000 gallons of water, in addition to equipment that's needed in the fire service. By being a frontline fire engine, usually is the main pumping apparatus. So you're looking at anywhere, depending on how we're doing it, probably about 700,000 and up.
Hey, Councilor Martin, can I?
Yeah, I'm going to yield. We need a little more information. And again, I would see if I would ask the administration, Brother Smith and Brother Austin, let's ask them, can we use some of this COVID money once we get it? Is it possible to use this money to get the new squad and the fire engine if we can? If either we can or we can't, but we need to ask that question. That's where I'm at. Thank you.
Okay, great. Thank you. Thank you very much, Chief Worley. This is an issue we're going to keep our thumb on the pulse, so to speak.
Mr. Chair.
Yes, sir.
I'm sorry. I didn't mean to interrupt. I just have a question. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Okay, I'm going to reserve my comment for a minute. Go ahead on, Councilman Smith.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate you. I just want somebody to jog my memory. Maybe I'm wrong. Did we recently have a chance to receive $1 million grant for a new fire engine?
I'm glad you said it and not me. Good.
We did receive that fire truck and fire engine, two different apparatus. Fire truck is what has the large ladder, being that we have multiple high rises in the city of East Cleveland, per the standard of NFPA, as well as other insurance things. It's escaping my mind at this moment. It's good to have a ladder truck. And so that's what that was. We needed a new ladder truck because we had one that was up on bricks, and we also had one that we purchased from someone else a few years back. That's up in age, and so we needed a new fire truck, and that grant was available, and our previous chief was able to secure that grant.
Thank you.
Okay, great. This has been a phenomenal discussion, but I know that we owe the people some more information about the status of our safety equipment, so we can truly prioritize the limited resources that we have. So to our police chief and our focused and driven, I guess, vehicle equipment manager, thank you very much. Chief Worley, more to follow. And we're gonna kind of move the discussion over to legislation. Anybody have one more comment?
Yeah,
About where we
where,
are?
Mr. Austin, where are we at this point with the 2 Tahoes and the Ford Interceptors and the fire squad and the fire engine? Where are we at this point before we move on? So I have a clear understanding.
Right. It is my understanding that right now
Speak
we
up,
have
Mr. Austin. Speak up a
my
little.
head. Hold on. Let me see if my headphones. Let me take this sucker off if I need. Can you hear me better now?
Yes, please.
Okay.
Yeah.
There are
It's straining to hear you.
There's 4 vehicles in the pipeline, so to speak. 2 Tahoes and 2 Interceptors. The 2 Interceptors are right now with this committee. So when we rush to legislation, we don't have to think about it. We just read it and call for a vote. Because we obviously are in support. We can get that legislation moved on to the agenda review if we have it, and or to the next council meeting. So we have 4 vehicles we're processing right now. And as far as the ambulance, I hope the law director is listening, so the fire chief can walk upstairs and say, hey, let's get some legislation in there and let's work it out so that we can truly capitalize on the resources we have in our general fund to make the appropriate purchase so we can have the safety coverage that we need for our residents going forward.
Point of information.
Copy.
Thank you very much, Madam Law Director. Councilman Martin, is that clear enough for you?
Council Chair.
Well, I still want the administration of Austin, because we're all on the same page here, to see if there's any way possible with fire needs and police needs, can we use any of this money coming through that once we get it? That is, to me, that's very important. When we need to know whether we can use it or whether we cannot. And I'm going to bring this back up in health and safety a couple of weeks ago. We should know by then. All right, thank you.
Mayor King has his hand up,
Mayor
sir.
King, can I share a note real quick on council behalf?
Yeah, go ahead, man.
Yeah, we received those coronavirus do's and don'ts like last week. It was a kind of fat packet, but it has some cliff notes in it saying these dollars can be used for this or that, but purchasing those kind of things were not on that list. However, as I see going forward, there may be some opportunities to use some of those dollars that can be freed up from the general fund, as the mayor said, to make the purchase necessary to keep us all safe. Thank you, Mayor King.
Yes.
Point of information.
So that we're clear, council and committee chairman, Councilman Austin, you just moved resolution 40-21 out of your committee into the agenda.
We will when we get to the legislation. I'm just saying, based on the amount of,
because
this is right now, we're not there yet, Mayor.
Okay, sorry.
Okay.
Point of information. There is a way that you can actually, excuse me?
Go ahead, who's that? Who's speaking?
This is DeBreeze, Reverend Dr. Reese. There is an actual way you can use actual academy, particularly the Ohio Diesel School. You can actually utilize them to repair different city vehicles. It'll be at a small cost, a minimum cost, and it would be cost effective, and it can be a perpetual thing. I have people there that I can actually broker this deal with, and it will not be as much that has been spent on these things.
Okay, Mayor King, you catch that note?
Actually furthering their students as well.
Okay, great. So yeah, Mayor King, I'm sure he's caught that note. He's making a note of that, and we'll see how we can incorporate that. If whatever coverage associated with those vehicles will allow the Ohio Diesel Tech to work on this equipment. Thank you very much, sir. Doctor.
I'll reach out to them and see where we can go from that point and wait for your end.
Thank you very much.
Who is that speaking, sir? Councilor Austin, who was that speaking?
DeBreeze, Reverend Dr. R.D. Reese.
Well, we need to definitely look into that. Okay. Is Brandon, Mr. Austin, is Brandon, are you still there? Brandon.
Somebody say Brandon or somebody said Mayor King?
Yeah, Brandon King, Mayor Brandon King.
I'm sorry, what was your question?
Just would you look into the options that we've been talking about the last 30 minutes?
So I love it. And when I first became mayor, we reached out to a couple diesel schools. And most of them, because I didn't know anybody there, said, oh yeah, we can get it in about 2 weeks. All right, we can get it in next month. There was not one that could get it in that day, including our school up here, Shaw, because we tried to get some cars over there, and they was like, oh, we can't get them in today. We got a couple weeks. So if the good, I think he said his name was Dr. DeBreeze, if he knows someone there that will allow us to have that flexibility, excellent. Yes, let's do it.
Well, that's why I want you to look. Would you be kind enough to look into that, as well as call down to wherever you need to call and see if we have some flexibility on some of this COVID money we got coming this year, please. Thank you.
Definitely.
Thank you. Councilwoman Gowdy, excuse me, charge it to my head, not my heart.
Oh,
if you could be so kind as to come forth and express any questions and or concerns you have before we move on for
thank
the
you.
police and fire. Thank you.
Yeah, I remember y'all do have training for the fixing of the cars and the trucks and stuff, and that would be good for the children to get some experience in that also. And because of what we are going through, Tyler had made a great point, but we don't have full coverage insurance on anything. And he is one of our best officers. And I just want him to know that. But we need to start having full cover insurance on these cars or anything that we are driving for the safety of the people and for the safety of us. So we won't be repeating ourselves over and over again buying cars. Because we know we get the COVID money, but we don't want to just spend it on anything. Other things need to be done through the city also. So we don't want to take that for granted.
And in closing on, and my last comment, Dr. DeBreeze, if I pronounce his name correctly, of that option, we definitely need to look into all the way that we can get some of these vehicles repaired for a minimum and save a whole lot of money. We need to explore that all the way, please, Mr. Austin. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman Austin.
Thank you all for your comments.
On that Monday, definitely.
Great, great. So now, Madam Clerk, if you will be so kind as to, let's start on legislation, please.
Okay, underneath, sir, you'll see discussion of pending or prior legislation. Did you want to go to that first?
Yes, thank you.
You're welcome.
Mayor King, I talked to the law director the other day, and as well as a mention from you today about a piece of legislation that did not make this agenda. And I just want to see if we can kind of discuss it so we can get some of the background information as to when it will make an agenda and what those items are and the benefit to our residents, please.
Thank you, Councilman Austin. If I may be as bold to ask you and council there are actually two pieces that need discussion. The first we tried to discuss a couple days ago was the fire that needed an emergency demolition on Noble, and that happened in December. And as some of you are aware, the second piece, as some of you are aware, there was a good discussion earlier at the Fiscal Commission that will help us solve some of these problems. Two issues in particular with the fire department. The master lease that we've been talking about now for well over a year and a half. This goes back to 19 when we first set up a lease. And then last year in 20, we revised it to then make it a master lease and add vehicles. That master lease has
Mayor King,
a
Mayor King.
pumper. It has a pumper for fire, and it has a new ambulance. Now, what they told us today from the fiscal commission is that we need to update the 5-year forecast and have it passed back through council before we can execute this lease. So you guys passed it, which is what we have to do. You have to pass the legislation, and then we have to go back to the fiscal commission in order to execute it. And now they're saying, okay, we need you, since you already passed the legislation, we need you to update the 5-year forecast and bring that back to us. So that's the second piece I wanted to talk about. Sorry, Councilman Austin.
Hey, right. So what I would like to do is, I'm a real simple guy. So when you talk about consolidating the lease, can you expand on that just a little? I believe I understand, but I don't want to communicate, my understanding. I want you to kind of just expand it. If I didn't know anything about leasing, if you can kind of give me a limited or a brief scenario that we're working with that would everybody can understand, and there'll be no misunderstanding, and there shouldn't be a whole lot of questions I want you to explain.
Excellent.
What's the problem with Go ahead.
So let me try to make this real quick. 5 counselors back in 18, 3 of you were still on council. So you may have remembered that you passed a lease for salt trucks, right? And per our agreement, if the finances and the certificate of estimated resource didn't shake out the way we needed it to, I would not execute it, right? And so we went through a whole year of kind of turmoil last year with the COVID. So we didn't move on that lease that you had passed anyway through council, right? And we added the street sweeper, which is funded through our Northeast Ohio Regional Sewer District allotment. And we added that to a pumper and an ambulance. So that's that master lease is about $1.5 million, which you guys have already passed. And we talked about it extensively. So that's how they all got together.
All right, I understand that. So basically, if there was like, we're gonna say 4 pieces of equipment, they were on 4 to 5 pieces of equipment. They were on 5 different documents. Now they are gonna be on 1 document. That's the bottom line. Is that what you're saying?
Yes. So you guys have already passed.
Great. No, we got that part. Just making sure that that's basically what we're doing. We're gonna take 5 documents and make it 1 master document, and then we're gonna update that 5-year plan so it can be reflected that we have, I can say, estimated. This is the cost. These are our resources, and we can actually afford to do this. Is that what, at the end of the day, that's what we're looking for? Is that right?
Yeah, so you already passed the master lease. You already passed that through legislation. That's ready to go. So we took it to the fiscal commission today, and they say, okay, great. Now give us an updated 5-year forecast, and we're good to go. So we set up a date. It is June 28th, if I'm not mistaken, to come back in front of them. So they need the updated 5-year forecast from you passed through legislation by then.
Okay. And as far as I would like to see a brief from you or somebody in the administration saying that this is the 5-year forecast. These are the big rocks. These are the things that are going to be changed. So the council has an idea what those exceptional changes would be going forward. And then there shouldn't be a whole lot of, I guess I can say, controversy and or holdout.
So the finance director, the finance director should be on the call. The only change will be adding in the master lease payments, right?
Okay.
So whatever that's going to be a year, let's say it's going to be 300,000. That will be reflected in the updated 5-year forecast so that you see that. But you've already passed the legislation separate, and you passed it together. So we're good to go separate or together, but we'd rather do it together.
Mayor King, what I'm asking you to do is just prepare a 5-minute brief saying that this is our master plan. This is the status that it is right now. This is the one change. This is how it is affected. So everybody on this council can clearly understand. I'm going to blame it on myself because sometimes I may not understand if you don't make it plain.
Yes,
So
we will do that. Absolutely.
That's all I'm asking. If you could be so kind as to do that, I really appreciate it. And I'm looking forward to, moving these things forward so we can have a consolidated list of requirements and know when the leases will terminate and what the cost is to our great residents and move forward in the right way. Okay.
Excellent. Charles is on here and he will get it done.
Okay, the other piece of legislation, if we can move back to the fire if you like.
Yes, so Chief Worley and our Community Development Director, Melran Leach, are both on the call to go over it again so that we're all on the same page as to what happened and how we wind up here today. So Chief Worley, please.
Chief Worley,
Yes,
before you get started, I'm finding myself out of order all the time. I want to ask my colleagues if they have any issues and or concern with looking at the mayor's response to the 5-year plan, or if there's anything that they would like to see in the update brief prior to actually submitting the legislation to us for approval that they would like to hear about as it pertains to the adjustment with consolidating the lease for these 4 pieces of equipment. Councilor Smith? Councilor Martin?
My apologies. I truthfully didn't hear the whole question.
Okay.
Where are we at this point?
Asking if there were any comments and or concerns as it pertained to the 5-year plan and the consolidation of the master lease for the 5 pieces of equipment that we have already approved, but we have to get the 5-year plan or 5-year plan updated, basically is what it was going to take. And I wanted to know, I asked the mayor to provide us a brief of the changes that will be made to the 5-year plan to accommodate for the consolidation of the 5 items that we have on lease, and asked if there's any comments or concerns or any additional information other than just the changes, the exceptional changes to the 5-year plan that the council would like to hear about.
Well, in order for me to comprehend intelligently, I need something in front of me of what we're changing. I'm assuming that the 5-year plan we put in effect in 2018, I think we're almost on our last year of that. So I need a little more details on the 5-year plan. And then my question is, does that connect to what we're trying to do for the police? And does that connect to what we're trying to do for fire? Can you answer that for me, please?
Yes, that 5-year plan we're talking about, those for existing leases right now. And there is a benefit to having your, respectfully, your ducks in a row. And the mayor has already agreed to give us a brief prior to actually submitting the legislation so we can be on the same page. And that brief is, and like I said, I don't know what the brief is going to entail, but I asked them for the minimum of addressing the exceptional changes so we can have the document reflect what the fiscal commission needs in order to approve the way ahead, so to speak.
All right, well, once I can read that, and I need to just be able to have something in front of me, okay?
Great, thank you, sir. Thank you. Councilor Smith? It's not a requirement. If you don't have anything, we'll just keep moving. Councilor Gowdy?
Yes, I wanted to ask a question to the chief.
Chief Worley, he's not up yet. We're gonna let Chief Worley speak right now. Chief Worley, can you hold it till after he speaks, Councilwoman Gowdy?
I'm talking to you, Gowdy.
I can't hear you.
Can you hold your question until he gives us the background for this fire? And after you have his opportunity, I guess you can ask him any question you want as it pertains to fire. But he's going to talk about the fire that took place, and then what do we have some holdback or some concern with. So, Chief Worley, if you could be so kind as to give us some inside information and or give us some comfort, if you will.
So the fire that Mayor King is talking about was on a Sunday back in December. It was a very, very as the director of community, he has pictures of it. It was a very huge fire. The fire went through the roof, had a major collapse from the roof all the way down to each floor. And the concern that we had with the fire was that it was by 2 properties. If you were facing the house or facing the building, rather, looking west, it was right by a barber shop and a house. And so that collapse, the final collapse that would have eventually happened because it was so much damage done, would have eventually affected those 2 properties, as well as because of the way the incline of that building, how it's set up. it would have eventually landed over into Noble as well. And then we had the issue of it lopping off into the parking lot where the store is at. So the potential for disaster was very high. Our deputy chief at the time, who was on duty, who was in charge of that fire, he had major concern. And so he went ahead and put a call in to the mayor requesting that we go ahead and have this property demolished as soon as possible.
And I think that's where the concern and or consternation kind of weighed in. Once the property was, once a demolition, hello? Once the demolition company was selected and executed the task, and we have all, I am speaking for myself, I agree that the delay in coming to council for a measure of at least a notice, not necessarily an approval, but a notice. And I did do my math and asked the question as to the first thing was to go for ask the owner to pay for the demolition. Absolutely necessary, something that was accomplished. However, once that didn't happen within a reasonable amount of time, then the opportunity is to come before council, which that did happen. But again, it was delayed. And I asked that we put some procedures in place, whether it's a notice from the fire department. Once this thing is approved and taken care of, you can send a note to the mayor, say, this property was, we followed up, checked, and it was actually demolished, and thank you. Or just a handwritten note from the chief said, hey, that was accomplished, and that would be a trigger point for the mayor to say, okay, well, that was done. Now we seek reciprocity, and or we go to council, say, you know what, this was an exceptional anomaly, and the city should fund the demolition of this particular property so we can move forward and free up that space and start collecting the revenue from the rebuilt facility to obviously benefit our residents going forward, as well as not having an eyesore on Euclid Avenue. What are your questions and or concerns from our colleagues? Councilor Martin?
Yeah, my position on that is what it was when we got cut off a few days ago and we had to break down with Zoom. If Donald Trump tore down a building in East Cleveland, or his corporation tore down a building, he has a right to be paid. And we have, over the last 3 or 4 years, established some credibility with the leadership of Brandon King, that we pay our bills. So where I am, I think there's been some breakdowns from the administration, and on both sides. It's not a perfect situation. But I think the most important thing is, if any corporation has done the work, that corporation should be compensated for their work. If I was Corporation X and I came and tore down a building and that, I want to get paid. And I think we have to be very cognizant and very responsible that we pay vendors to come in and do the work, that they get paid. We don't need to be circulating around the community that if you come to East Cleveland, you don't get paid. So that's where I'm at. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor. Councilor Smith? Smith?
I'll go next if you want me to, Councilman.
Okay. Councilwoman Gowdy?
Yes, my concern is, like last meeting that we just had this week, to tear down a house or a building and we know that it's in bad condition, to follow the law was in our ordinance. The law actually telling us that you should come to us first. And when you don't come to us first, things like this happen. And we already know that we ain't trying to beat nobody or anything, but it should have came through council, the council. And that's where I'm at. That's where I'm holding it, because you're breaking the law when you don't come through council. And now we're supposed to pay Brandon Friend $150,000 because he didn't follow the law.
Councilor Smith? Okay,
think we lost him. I don't see him online anymore. I was looking.
okay, great. We still got a quorum. But
Yes.
yeah, so Councilwoman Gowdy, I definitely appreciate the fact that they were way late. And you know, if I was a third grade teacher, Miss Red, that was my third grade teacher, she would tap me on the hand with a ruler, but she would put me back in line and still let me eat lunch. You know, so we can, you know, advise the administration that, you know, we would like to be informed because that's what thus says, you know, our charter. However, it also said in there that the demolition was within the authority of the Director of Building and Housing. However, after that demolition is completed, there is a requirement that they notify the council. So if there's a need to pay, that we have the authority, we give the authority and make the correct appropriation to get the folks that have performed the service for our city paid. And that is a place where I am in full agreement with Councilor Martin about making sure this gentleman gets paid. And like I say, it doesn't matter if it was Donald Trump. And I don't like to use him as a reference. I'm going to take it back. But it doesn't matter who it is. If they performed the service and the service it met the standard. And, you know, they unfortunately, you know, performed the services on the weekend. So maybe the council could have came, you know, on the weekend, but it was something that was set up to save life, limb, and eyesight. And I do support 100% of the chief executive of the city making a call that's going to save life, limb, and eyesight, period. So if we have to pay a little bit of money, let's pay the money and let's continue to move forward. And we know that, you know, the council as a whole understands that the delay was not something we're comfortable with. Don't delay it in the future, Mayor King and or whomever. Let's get this thing done because we are all on the same page to take care of the residents of this great city.
Councilman Austin, can I say something? Because it was
Yes,
not torn down
ma'am.
on the weekend, sir.
Okay,
Councilman
so
Austin,
I thought the fire took place on the weekend.
and they pulled the permits after it was torn down. So no, I don't agree.
Right.
Council Chairman.
And they pulled
Mayor King,
all the permits
Mayor King.
after it got
Hold on
torn
one
down.
second. Right. So I don't know if you know about contracting, but if somebody's house was, you know, was blown up like over there on 124th, I personally called some window guys in to help people, you know, be able to stay in their house. The city called for a certain contractor. Some of them volunteered to bring their own wood, bring their own crews out there and did that. They didn't have no permits because building and housing was not set up for that.
Okay, but
that point of edict. I'm just saying. I know
that's not our fault. It shouldn't. That $150,000 should not rely on the cities.
Okay, well.
And do we have dump fees, receipts, and everything? We need to see the whole contract, what went down.
Okay, well, again, that's your prerogative to request that, and I support your request. However, I don't necessarily need that because I have a little bit more experience with, you know, construction and kind of understand how if there's somebody, you know, that needs an emergency repair, you have to just knock that repair out. Then you can go back and pull your permit. The inspector can come out, take a look at it, pass your work, and say thank you for taking care of this family. That's normally the way it happens.
That's okay for all families, and I'm not saying that was not. But what we saying that you don't do the work first and then ask to get paid later on down 6 months later, and then you're not coming in front of council all this time. This ain't the first time he was ever at the council meeting. He been at the council meeting many a time and never brought it up.
Right.
So we have a big problem here, Councilman Austin.
I know, and I'm concerned about it too. But I will tell you that the only thing we can do is tell the mayor that we're totally opposed to that long delay. Don't delay it again, Mayor King. That's all
it was a delay. It's not like he's in school or whatever. He been on council before. He know the protocol.
I know he does. And right now he know that we paying attention. So before, if we was sleeping, we ain't sleep no more. We want to make sure we get our due. If there's a certain measure of respect that we need to get from the administration, we're gonna start getting that respect because we've already stood up for ourselves and they already know. So the best thing for us to do at this point, let's move forward. They know that we paying attention and we need to fix this for our residents as well as those persons that provide services to those residents. So I would like to be able to move this piece forward in a way that would, you know, save our credibility as well as, you know, appreciate the lives that
this is not even your agenda. This is a finance committee.
No, so I don't know if you heard, we're just talking about current and past and future legislation. That's all we do. We're not passing nothing. We're not, adding
No,
to my agenda. We're not doing that.
your
We're just
committee.
discussing it. So clarity. So I want you to be able to get clarity
Finance
whenever
committee
possible.
problem.
It's not a problem. It's not a problem.
But it's already, it's in the finance committee. That's what I'm saying.
But if clarity can be discussed anywhere, and that's the best way I can say that. So we just discussing so you can have absolute clarity. So on game day, you don't have to have continued pause for something that you have the answers to your concern. So this is an opportunity to get more information, and I would like for you to take this time to ask the mayor what, if any, processes or procedures are in place to prevent this from being delayed in the future. And I'm sure he has a phenomenal answer for you.
Thank you, Thank you, Mr. Austin, but we do.
Thank you, Councilman Austin. I did hear you defer to me. I actually have the Community Development Director, Mr. Melran Leach, is on the line. We can defer a lot of these questions to him. He can give you those simple answers. Mr. Leach, can you chime in for me, please?
Yes. When it comes to an emergency, that's what I would like to address first. In our codified, it says that we can address that emergency and we allow the contractor to pull a permit after the work has been done or started. And that's what occurred in that situation. When I received the call that we need to make sure that this is abated.
You pulled the permit from Cleveland Water 2 months later. That's where you pulled it. That's where he pulled the permit from.
Hey, Councilor Gotti, Councilor Gotti, let him finish his spiel. You're gonna have an opportunity to address what he said. So we're gonna make sure that you are totally satisfied with the response from the administration, or you're just gonna have to take the right course when you vote. But go ahead, Mr. Leach.
So for example, in an instance, when we catch someone working and they don't have a permit, if it is an emergency, we allow that contractor to do the work and then come pull the permit later. That's in our codified. If it's needed, I can show that to the council people to make sure they see it and read it for themselves. Also, in this instance, we did send the invoice to the property owner. Not only did we send it by email, we can show that we sent it by certified mail, which it says that we must do. The contractor was in constant contact with us throughout the process to make sure that he wanted to make sure that payment was going to be made. We told the contractor that we have to service the owner first, and that's what we did. So when there is that delay in bringing it to council, we wanted to make sure that we did our due diligence in trying to collect from the property owner first before we brought it to council. Thus the delay.
Tracy, could you please explain some of our findings? Madam Clerk, are you there?
I'm here.
Please explain it.
What did you want me to explain? I thought that was for Finance Committee on Tuesday.
The dates and the fines that I sent you.
The thing you sent me was that he pulled the permit for the 24-hour permit for the City of Cleveland Water Department to utilize as an emergency.
I just only need a summary of that.
Yeah, all the dates were different. They were all over the place. And that was of great concern to you if you were looking at stuff, and there was no way bills or anything else.
Could you please explain our most discovering?
That was it. That's what you had. Yeah, it was just all the different dates on all the paperwork submitted. Began with the fire the first week of December, and then a lot of different things transpired over through the end of January with permits and that.
In the water department.
Cleveland, that was in January 13th for only a 24-hour usage. It was an emergency permit, and the date on it was January 13th, 2021.
After it was torn down, right?
Correct.
So what is the city bringing this to council? What do the city laws say by bringing things to council?
If it's an emergency, it doesn't.
Will, please, I'm
13
talking to the deputy clerk, not.
I'm the lawyer, not the deputy clerk.
But
Yeah,
you're not,
It's
no, you're not my lawyer.
13.10.
You
not
already
your
know you're
lawyer.
not my lawyer, so
I'm
we ain't
talking
gonna
about
be like that.
13.10. You asked for a legal question. 13.10 says
Let-
if it's
let-
an
let-
emergency, the community development director can go forward. Do you want to hear my answer or do you want to rant and rave?
Clerk,
Are
can
you a
can
lawyer,
mute that
Ms.
This is
Gotti?
why we are in the predicament we in now, Willie Hammond, because of you again. Lost
Councilwoman
I
$100
Gotti.
million.
didn't start the fire. I didn't cause the
You
catastrophe-
started it. You started it. You're losing it money.
tragedy.
You're losing money, Willie, all the
Hey,
time from you.
I think
Point
you're
of
a little
order.
bit off track,
The lawsuit.
Councilwoman. That didn't have anything to do with the
Point of
fire on
order, point of
December
order.
8th.
Please continue on, please, because we got interrupted. Please.
Thank you very much, Councilwoman. Chief,
May I be heard, Councilman?
hold on, let me get the chief back. Chief, you have any other phenomenal notes? That's it?
No, that's
Chief,
all I
you're
had.
right. Okay, great.
talking
Madam Law
to-
Director, hey, Madam Law Director, can I say one more thing?
Yes.
I heard what you said. And
I have-
right now, this is not necessarily a decision point, so you don't have to work to change somebody else's mind about how this works. We're just gonna provide information and leave it
Okay.
like that. We don't have to change nobody's mind. I would like to provide just information. So if we
Okay.
can
It's just
just
that,
gather information, it's okay. That's all I
Right.
want to do.
okay, it's just that I constantly get interrupted by ranting and ravings of some kind of uninformed.
You have
So,
interrupted
may
us, Willie.
I
Councilwoman,
please
she has the
proceed,
floor.
Councilman? This is Councilman
Yes.
Austin's committee. It's not another person's.
Yeah.
May I proceed?
Yes, please.
No,
Please.
I wasn't finished,
Wait a minute,
Councilman Austin. Councilman Austin, I really
Councilwoman
wasn't
Gotti.
finished.
I didn't know
Councilwoman
who
Gotti.
was ranting and
Councilwoman
raving.
Gotti.
I didn't know, no
Councilwoman
one
Gotti, hold
announced
on one second.
themselves.
1 second, please. Councilwoman Gotti, I promise to make sure I get back with you. We're just gonna try to get the information.
Yeah, I just wanted to talk to the chief.
Okay, yeah, I told you you're gonna
I
have a
think
great
I have the
opportunity to talk to
floor.
the chief. I'm gonna make sure that you do that. So bear with me for just a second. Madam Law Director, if you would,
Thank
please.
you so much.
Thank you, Councilman. Okay, as a background, each law is very different in terms of the subsections. For instance, you have, not to go off course, but you have aggravated murder, you have murder. Hello? Hello?
We're with you.
Oh, can you hear me? Okay.
Ma'am.
So the difference, say, in the subsections of the murder ordinance is like there's 5 subsections. And you can either go to prison for 20 years for a murder, 30 years for a murder. You can get life without parole, life with parole, or you can get the death penalty.
That's why we
So,
don't.
thank you, Councilman Austin. I keep getting interrupted. Could you put that person on
Madam
mute, please, so that I could explain? Okay.
We won't have to. She's gonna govern herself accordingly. We just want to hear
Okay,
the
thank you.
information.
Okay, so what I'm saying is, like we have seen in the past, there are different subsections to each law. Each law stands independent of the other, depending on the nature of the circumstances, the conditions, the facts, and what are the impacting considerations that have to be taken back into factoring. Okay, so it's like a formula. So this particular law, 1313.10, does not require council approval because it's an emergency. That section B defines what an emergency is. The previous narratives by both the community development director and the fire chief have indicated that this was a dire emergency, imminent harm was present, there was an emergency, dangerous situation. It had to be abated. And that is why previous councils have made this subsection 1313.10 so that it can be executed when necessary. If you wait around for 1 or 2 or 3 or 4 days or weeks, then the catastrophe would have expanded itself. That's why it's an emergency. And if you're exhorted to go on down and find something in the law that makes it plausible or is applicable when it is not, then you are not preserving the integrity of that particular subsection. So I want to make it clear, an emergency is distinct from what the subsection 11 is, okay? Subsection 11, if you notice, talks about if it's under $500 or under $7,000, that's a condition, okay? The reason that that subsection was presented to you, and I sent 2 days ago, I sent all the subsections to council so that they could be aware that what we're going to do is to try to get the money back from the owner who has been very unresponsive so far. So because this particular contractor was available, accessible, and solicited, and was responsive to our needs immediately because it was an emergency, that is why the invoice was presented. Now, I don't want to go into a long diatribe about the circumstances that where delay was experienced, but for a while, we did not have a functioning fire chief to kind of help us put this case together for council. And I'm very happy and delighted that now we have a fully qualified and a fully experienced fire chief that can take the ball from here on. He's only been the fire chief for a few weeks. And if we had had someone that was on the ball and was very, very responsible, then of course we would not be in this predicament where there was such a delay. With regard to the permits, after you tear a building down, you have to water it, you have to preserve it. The site takes maintenance over a series of times. It's not just one day, okay, the fire is out. It takes time, effort, energy, experience, equipment. Not all contractors have that. And we were fortunate in finding one that does. So the long shot of it is this was an emergency. It fit not the parameters of say an involuntary manslaughter subsection of the murder statute. It fit the aggravated murder aspect of the murder statute. So that what we have to
will you please stop her? Please stop her.
I think I hear some rantings and raving again.
Yeah,
Well, I'm trying to
Madam Law
end up-
Director.
Yes.
Madam, you have to sometimes respectfully give it to the audience. I understand wholeheartedly what you're saying. The comparisons, I got them. But,
Okay, yeah,
if you
just
could
basically
reserve that.
1313.10 is totally separate and apart from 1313.11, which isn't on point. What is on point now is the emergency section of the statute. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilwoman Gotti, if you could be so kind as to ask your question of the chief, and then we're gonna move on to the next piece of legislation.
Thank
Councilwoman
you,
Gotti?
Councilman Austin, because we was not in court. My goodness.
Might be if we don't pay this contractor.
Okay, well, Madam Councilwoman Gotti, you have anything else for the chief?
Frisbee versus East Cleveland.
That's it? That's all you have? Okay, thank you. Madam Clerk, if you would, go ahead on with the first piece of legislation.
Frisbee versus East Cleveland is about the same thing that we're going through right now with contracts. He
Okay.
knocked down, he tore down something, need to pay. All right.
Okay, well, great.
Moving
Go ahead, we're gonna go
forward.
to the first piece of
Available so
legislation.
I
Thank you.
can ask my question.
You ready to ask your question now, ma'am?
Okay,
Go ahead,
yeah,
you can ask your
thank you.
question.
Okay, how you doing, Mr. Fire Chief Worley? I have a question. You see, is he on?
I'm sorry, go right ahead, ma'am. What'd you say? Can you hear me okay?
Yes, I'm answering the question. You said we using a pickup truck instead of an EMS truck for picking up people?
So yes, ma'am, that's what we're doing right now. We're using one of our fire prevention truck. It's a brand new truck. It's about a little bit over a month old. And what we're doing is we're sending out medics to the residents who are in need to evaluate the scene and what's going on. If it's not a life or death threatening situation where the patient can be walked out to the ambulance and then drove as if they were being driven by their own family, that's what they'll do in that truck. If they cannot, if it turns out to be a life threatening, they'll have all the drugs they need as well as all the equipment they need to render care to that patient until we can get somebody who can transport them to the hospital.
So now we using a pickup truck as the ambulance.
At the moment, ma'am, until we get our squad back, yes, we had both. Our new squad ended up out of service just the other day, and the backup squad that I normally use whenever we have to send ambulance out to be serviced, that was out being serviced at the time, and so we're hoping and praying that it'll end up here, if not by the weekend, by Monday.
Is that your question, Councilwoman Gotti?
I mean, I'm really sad about using a pickup truck for EMS.
Okay, well, can I share a historical note with you?
Have you talked to the union about this, Chief?
Councilman Austin, I
Well,
got
ma'am, this wouldn't actually be a union issue because the unions don't pay for that equipment. But the mayor is aware of it. He's standing behind us on it. And like I said, right now it's an unfortunate situation, and that's why we're really hoping that what the mayor has put together, this master lease program, which he has included a new ambulance for us, will be something that can be passed. Nevertheless, it is unfortunate. Trust me, for me, I've been in a situation in this city before, and it's not fun going to a scene, especially if it's a serious scene. It's not fun for us. My heart goes out to the patient as well as to their families. However, we have been fortunate enough to have a fire department that can overcome and adapt to anything that we've been thrown.
What if we have two medical major emergency?
So like I was saying, like I explained earlier, what would take place is fortunately you would have qualified EMS personnel there. And when they got there and they're notified that what we have is mutual aid, that's where we would call another city and say, hey, this is what we have. We need an ambulance down here. And at that very moment, they would dispatch somebody. If we got the call out the gate and we say, okay, we have one ambulance that's already on a full arrest, and we have another person who is also at a full arrest, then at that very moment, we can go ahead and get, let's just say the city of Euclid, to go ahead and say, hey, we have personnel en route to first respond. We're going to have a patient that needs to be transported. So we've laid out the groundwork for the department to be able to deal with it. Like I said, unfortunately, this is not the first time we've been put in this situation. And again, fortunately, though, you have a group of men who are used to adapting and overcoming situations of this sort. And hopefully in the future, we will not have this issue if we're able to have another ambulance, because again, our residents' lives are dear to us. We don't take it lightly. That's why we have one of the highest saves in the county when it comes to full arrest saves. We have fastest response time when it comes to the county, much faster than Cleveland. And so we don't take it, it affects us as well because we take our so seriously.
Thank you, Chief. I know you do a good job and you working with what you can work with. We'll get through this. Have a blessed day.
Thank you, ma'am.
Okay, great. Thank you, Councilwoman Gotti. I do appreciate it. Chief,
Thank
I got a
you,
note for
Councilman
you if you
Austin.
could.
Councilman Austin had a comment too.
Okay, thank you. Mayor King, I'm gonna let you go before I make my comment. Thank you very much. Thank everybody online for their patience. Mayor
Thank you,
King?
Councilman Austin. Thank you, Chief Worley. Thank you, Councilman Austin, again, for having this discussion so that we can see the importance of it, the necessity of it, how everyone is pushing. And now I want to talk to Nathaniel Martin, not Councilman. I'm gonna give you the respect you give me. Nathaniel Martin, do you see that you're playing with the lives of residents? Do you see that? Do you see how serious this is? Nathaniel Martin. You got the EMS showing up in a pickup truck. You got vendors that we can't pay. You see how serious this is. So yes, you affect me as the mayor, but you affect the quality of services and the lives of residents, right? This is important when we come to you and we need this stuff passed. Nathaniel Martin, I'm asking you to step up and do the right thing for the residents of the city. Thank you, Councilman Austin. Thank you, Councilman Nathaniel Martin.
Thank you, Mayor King.
Mr. Austin,
Nathaniel Martin?
do I have?
You got the floor.
Yeah.
Yes.
I don't know why I was singled out. Can you hear me? Can everyone hear me? Can you hear me?
Yes, sir. We can hear you.
Okay, I don't get caught up in the personal attacks and being put on the spot because I'm only one council person, and I'm going to take the high ground in this situation. First of all, of the 27 years I've been on council, we have never not passed anything to benefit police and fire. You can point Nathaniel Martin at that. In this situation, the council will do the right thing. And since I've been put on the spot, this actually, the whole discussion centered around police vehicles, fire vehicles, ambulances is actually a health and safety committee issue. And we play a lot of games, unfortunately, with things that stirred a certain way. Now, my position on a number of things is very important. Number one, I don't think any vendor that does work in our city be paid. I'm consistent about it. That not just 4 vehicles, but 6. And I've asked Brandon King. I've asked the young man, look into, see if we can use some money we got coming in that we're not gonna get again to see if we can cover that. Have a position that I want our police and our fire to have the best equipment. I've reached out to Scott Gardner to get the, not just average body cams, but the best. Okay, I've reached out to Worley that we want the best for fire. So I'm consistent about that. We, as a body, will deal with this. I am very strong about anybody coming in this city that if we don't pay to work, it looks bad for us. Thank you, Brad. Nathaniel Martin, with
Yes,
these
sir.
situations
Okay.
cognitively, with humility and fairness, and I'm going to do that. I try not to get drawn into the things that don't produce anything. So when we're talking about ambulances, when we're talking about vehicles, I advocate for that, okay? But I'm asking you, Brandon King, to use your gift, skills, and talents to check to see if we can use. We can't cover everything in the general fund, which you should be aware of, and we're aware of. To make sure that our police are covered and have good equipment, make sure our fires are covered and have good equipment, and we take care of our citizens. We're getting Euclid Avenue paved right now, and hopefully that will help us. But I'm hoping that when we meet in the next few weeks, that we cover all of this. Is this a perfect world? Do we get it right all the time? No, we do not. We do not. But we tried, Brandon King. We tried, Chief Worley. We tried, God, and you know that. So it's the best way we can. Now, there's been mistakes made, but we have to correct them and do the best things we can. Nathaniel Martin is going to do the right thing. Thank you.
Thank you, Nathaniel Martin.
Thank you. Councilman, thank you very much. Everybody has spoken and we're all talked out. So, Madam Clerk, if you would, read the first piece of legislation, which we should be out of the next 5 or 10 minutes.
Okay, resolution number
Madam Clerk, please.
3721, a resolution granting several variances and conditional use permits
3721.
in order to approve the repair or expansion of an existing non-conforming use for the improvement of the Shaw High School Stadium Complex located at 14305 Shaw Avenue, East Cleveland, Ohio.
Right, thank you very much. This doesn't require a vote because this is a committee meeting. Obviously, we all want to make sure that the area around Shaw and the Shaw High School Stadium area is taken care of. So I don't foresee us having any consternation with this. Getting a new stadium, who wouldn't like that? Anybody have any comments or concerns about this?
Yeah, Mike is,
owner wrote.
Mr. Austin, my question is at this, as I look at resolution 3721 is, are we going to, how much additional money will it take? And is the money coming out of the general fund? Answer that for me, please.
Yes, the Cleveland Browns owner actually wrote a check for $1 million for a brand new Shaw Stadium. There's no money required as of right now for the footprint that is actually the stadium. We are spending money to have the road resurfaced on the way to the stadium, which we hopefully we can all agree on to get that funded. But the Cleveland Browns owner wrote a check for $1 million. That is the budget to reset that stadium. And as of right now, the school board has not come back for any additional dollars. And it's funded. Like I say, this is a phenomenal program. The stadium program, this is actually the 10th stadium that the Cleveland Browns has paid for in this area. So thank you and kudos to the Cleveland Browns owner and the Cleveland Browns organization.
How much do we have to do to make sure the road is paved, which will make the whole situation complete? How much do we have to kick in on paving the road?
So right now we ask for an additional 135,000 plus 15, so 150,000 plus 500 and the 500,000, which we had a $250 match from the county, the $250 from the county, plus we're asking for another $150,000, which the legislation tonight will address the additional $15,000 that's being requested by the administration. I don't know if that's just administrative fees or incidentals. I guess the mayor can talk more to that 15,000. In addition to that, they also changed the measure of funding from the general fund, the community development block grant funding, which would obviously have to the general fund. So that's it. But as far as the stadium is paid for by the Cleveland Browns organization. And like I said, you know how budgets go. It's $1 million budgeted. Hopefully they can stay within that $1 million window and we should be okay.
Oh, okay. Brandon King, are you still there?
Yes, sir.
Okay, have we taken it upon ourselves as the administration and the legislative body to send a thank you letter to the Browns for their $1 million donation?
Absolutely. And the thank yous go to the school. They gave the money to the school for the stadium. So what we've been doing is working with the school and the builders and the whole team hand in hand to make sure they get the permits when they need them, BZA variances and all that. Some of the legislation came in front of council.
Right. Can I say one thing in addition to that? There was an actual thank you from the city. Mayor Rand Leach, the mayor wasn't available because of illness, and Mayor Rand Leach actually showed up and spoke at that groundbreaking, had a shovel and everything. Mr. Cool was smart. I have the pictures, so I guess I should share those pictures with the rest of the council. And we were represented because I came out and shook hands and told the Cleveland Browns owner and the Cleveland Browns coach that we really appreciate the new stadium.
The
I just wanna
CEO
say-
from the NFL was here, Councilman Austin.
Right, and I know. Let me tell y'all a quick story. Roger Goodell, it was like one of the Shaw High School football players came out without a jacket. It was very cold, so Roger Goodell took off his NFL jacket and gave it to the Shaw High School player, and the guy was so thankful. That's the short version of the story, but I was really impressed with Roger Goodell caring because he said, I got on this sweater, I'll be okay, and that is phenomenal for a multi-millionaire to come here to our itty bitty city, who they're already coming to give us $1 million worth of new stadium. But he took a jacket off his back to provide it to one of our students to make sure he was okay on a cold day. Hats off to him. And if you don't think, I took my lapel pin off for him to know that here in the city of East Cleveland, we care. So he has an East Cleveland lapel pin. I gave him my card, and
Good job. Good job.
Well, you know something, Roger Goodell and the football and all that, I was not made aware of that, and most of us are available during the day. So I just shake my head. It seems like certain council people are informed and certain council people have not informed. And I think it's really unfortunate.
Let me clear that up.
However, it's done now, and there's nothing new about that. So
let me clear that up.
I'm hoping that the legislative body, that we send a thank you to the Browns or to Roger Goodell, even though it is a school situation, it benefits the city of East Cleveland. And we need, and I'm going to tomorrow make sure that we do something about that. But I am disturbed, and I'm basically kind of really upset by the fact that the whole council don't know about these kind of things, but certain council people do. And this is nothing new.
Well, let me
this
share
is really nothing new. And you know what? I'm about to lose it behind this kind of stuff. Okay, we get $1 million stadium renovation. We're gonna have one of the best in Cuyahoga County, but only 1 or 2 council people know, and the rest of the council people don't. It's like a broken record that continues. It continues.
Councilor Martin, let me tell you how I got on.
Certain ones are in the loop and certain ones are not in the loop. I'm pissed off about it. I really am.
Hey,
just like you ask the right questions, you find things out. We're not respected. I guess I'm not respected, and certain other council, but certain other council people are, and that's wrong.
Councilor Martin,
because we operate as a body.
Nobody in Councilor Martin, nobody in administration invited.
I really am.
Dr. Pettigrew.
Thank you.
Dr. Pettigrew called me on my cell phone and invited me to a meeting in his office.
And I'm home all day. I'm not, and I'm retired. I could have got a phone call from my colleagues. This ain't on Brandon. This is a colleague to share with the other council people. Should have been there. Not just you. The other, we are a body. You single me out, but we function as a body. There's 5 of us.
I don't know if you heard me when I said.
A good example. This Saturday, there's a program at the library. Okay, all right. I found out in the street about it. So what did I do? I didn't keep it to myself. I had our clerks make a copy of it. She emailed it, and they put it in a box. So I wasn't selfish. I shared. So there's something wrong with this.
Nathaniel Martin, you didn't share that with me, Councilman Martin. You didn't share that with me. And so that we're clear, that event is not, I don't have anything to do with that event. I was invited. The CEO of the schools, Dr. Pettigrew, They organized that event that day. That didn't come through
Why is
me.
it going out now?
It's going.
Okay. Hello?
Yeah, I just wanted him to know,
Yeah.
those aren't my events. I'm not setting those up. I'm being invited.
Right. And again, Councilor Martin, I was on the invite list. He called me to his office, wanted to discuss a few things, show me some stuff on his desk, which I reached out to him several months ago about some other stuff to help the students out. So now this is him reaching out to me for whatever reason. And again, I don't.
Well, the issue
didn't get-
about it being shared, what I'm saying, it should be just like I shared this thing coming up Saturday. Okay.
You didn't share with
There's
me.
invitation to that. Okay.
share
I
with
didn't
me.
think it's because what's going to happen, it affects everybody, all the elected officials. So I shared it. I didn't hold it to myself.
Right. And if, like I say, it wasn't
please,
red carpet.
It's wrong.
I appreciate
It really is wrong. Okay, I just
didn't
my
invite
knowledge
myself.
and wisdom. It's wrong. Okay, let's
Okay.
move on because I don't
Thank
think
you
it's gonna
very
ever
much.
change. Let's move on.
Thank you very much.
Yeah,
And like I say, it was just so I want to discuss the $1 million stadium that we're getting, and everybody should be in support of that. Any other questions and or concerns?
Well, I've said what I said about it, and I'm through with it.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Councilman Martin.
I would like next time when you get information like that, could you share it with the council? Because we did not get the information.
We didn't know anything about it.
We did not know, and I'm available all the time. Thank you.
When he, like I said, when he invited me, I thought he invited everybody, so I didn't take my invite any more personal than anybody else. So, nevertheless, Madam Clerk, if you would be so kind as to read the next piece of legislation, please.
Sure. Resolution number
Wait,
4021.
before you move on, what are we doing with this? It says request. What are we doing with this?
We're gonna move this to the agenda if we have one, and or to the next council meeting for consideration. Let's move this piece of legislation. Are you agreeing with that, Martin? Councilman
Yeah,
Martin?
yeah. It ain't gonna
Okay,
change
great.
what's be done. Let's move it forward.
Thank you very
Okay.
much.
So the
Okay.
general consensus.
Is
of-
move it forward.
All right, got that. Okay, next resolution, number 4021, an ordinance to authorize the mayor to enter into lease or purchase agreements for the acquisition of city vehicles for use by the police department, 2 Ford 4x4 police interceptors for $40,906.32 each, for a total of $81,812.64 on the terms and conditions reflected in Exhibit A.
We have discussed these vehicles, and we were, and I believe he had a consensus that these vehicles should be purchased and supported. So I guess, Councilor Martin, if you don't have any other concerns and or comments, we could just move this one forward also.
Here's what I need to say. I've been consistent about supporting our fire and the police, and I'm consistent now. Okay, it actually, and it's a health and safety issue, but I'm not gonna get bogged down with that. I support it. Okay, really is a health and safety issue because we're getting vehicles for police and vehicles for fire or whatever. It's a health and safety issue. And you know it and I know it. But I'm gonna take the high ground in this and go with it. But that's where it should have been. Thank you. Okay.
Thank you. And just so you know, Councilor Martin.
Yeah.
I did get a question from the clerk. Is Councilor Martin on your committee? And obviously the answer is yes. And I think this is a succinct effort to move these items as soon as possible for the benefit of our residents. And I thank you for your support.
Yeah.
So it's our consensus that this item be moved forward. Is that right?
Yes, let's move it forward.
Councilor Martin, did you want to
Thank you very much.
co-sponsor this?
Yeah, I'll co-sponsor it. I'll co-sponsor it because I try to exercise wisdom. If I get caught down in all these little games I play, we'll never get anywhere. Thank you.
Yeah, this is one of those pieces of legislation, sir, that's a crossover between the two committees. So this worked out well. This was the committee that came up first, the meeting.
Let's just move forward. The main thing is that we take care of our safety forces, and that's dear to my heart. So I'll live with this. Okay, I'm just aware of so much.
Okay.
All
right, next one, ordinance number 4121. This replaces 3221. It's an ordinance authorizing the mayor to resurface the area of Shaw Avenue from Hayden to Manhattan as originally planned costing $635,000, of which $250,000 will be from Cuyahoga County, and then an additional $150,000 of CDBG funds will be used, bringing the total committed by the city CDBG funds to $400,000, bringing the total amount for the Shaw resurfacing project to $650,000.
Okay, this is at the, obviously the resurfacing project, and we talked about the additional $15,000 coming out of community development block grant funds. So Mayor King, could you give us some insight onto the additional $15,000 and why it changed from being a general fund, I guess, debit to being a CDBG fund funded item?
Thank you, Councilman Austin. So as we sit here and as we've been going through this pandemic, things are changing all the time. I got a letter maybe a month ago from HUD saying that we were getting a certain dollar amount. And then this week I got a letter updating that letter in which they had increased our home funds by 30,000 and another two items. One was the paint and another one was something else, which they had increased the funds. So I don't see Melran on the line. When I talked to him the other day, Melran, could you further explain this when I get done? When I talked to him the other day, he said that HUD has given us more money. I'll let you take it over, Mel. So I don't want to mess it up.
So right now, the $635,000 to resurface Shaw is just an estimate. No numbers, no takeoffs. Nobody has really actually went out there. That's just a rough estimate. So we went out with our engineer and we walked the street and we looked at it. There are a number of catch basins. There's a number of indentions in the street that need to be addressed. So instead of just keeping the same number as 635,000, I said, I'm just going to make it an even 150,000 because construction costs has went up tremendously. As an example, OSB used to cost $7 to $10 for a board. That's a 4x8. If you look on Home Depot, that cost has went up to about $75. So instead of us going in and giving a number to council that's lower, they have to come back if it goes up with a change order. I said, let me make sure that we put a little bit more to give ourselves a cushion. And if the money isn't spent, then it stays with the city. So that was the reason for the additional. And then we do have extra funds that came in from HUD, as the mayor said. So if we kept it at the 500,000, 250 from CDBG and 250 from the county, we were going to do bits and parts and pieces. When we were on the meeting, council said why aren't we doing the whole street and looking at everything? So I said, well, let me make sure we get the whole street done. And it's always better to use CDBG or federal money than our general fund money, because that can go to take care of other things. So that's the reason for the increase.
Okay, well, thank you very much for that information, but I do have one concern. As we get these, how can I say, pieces of legislation, I would like to know that the engineering piece and the estimates, I understand there's change orders, things that come up that, incidentals. However, I do want to make sure we do our due diligence first before we come before council. There's no response required. I'm speaking for the future, and that's it. So yeah, I do support, and nothing has changed in my mind. Councilor Martin, you have any issues or concerns with this piece of legislation?
No, let's move it forward.
Okay, well, let's move it forward.
Okay.
No. Councilor Gall, you have anything?
No, I don't, not at this time.
Okay, thank you very much, ma'am. Okay, Madam Clerk, I guess we're moving on to this next piece is discussion. This is going to be fast, furious, and abbreviated. So if you let me run through these 3 items really quick, I really appreciate it. Repairs and updates with city-owned buildings. As you know, there's been the same updates that were taking place for our last month's meeting are continuing this month. Just putting it plain. I'm going to give the mayor an opportunity to speak at the end. If he wants to talk specifically to that, that'll be outstanding. Seasonal Service Department information and update. As you know, we had the cleanup that took place on May 8th. Thank you very much to the counselors, and thank you, Councilwoman Gowdy, for assigning that date. And each ward had folks that got out there and cleaned their individual yards and showed their willingness to help East Cleveland get on to the next phase of our renaissance. So to Mayor King and the service department who came out, and I really want to say they killed the game, because they cared enough to go from street to street looking for items that they can recover and help us, get the streets a lot cleaner than they were when we started. So they gave the residents opportunity to put out couches, chairs, large furniture, trees, tires, and most of those items have already been recovered. Unfortunately, some people found out about the cleanup a little bit later than necessary to be truly effective. However, I would like to earmark another date on the wall where we can establish a new clean to continue what we've already started, which I really appreciate the administration's support again and the council's efforts to get it out to their people as to when we're having a clean and what that clean consisted of. This was East Cleveland community cleaning up within the East Cleveland community, starting at your front door and going as far as you're willing to go based on your time and resources. And fortunately for me, I didn't get too many calls for trash bags, so everybody took care of their own, and I really appreciate that. As we move on to the last item, general updates regarding General Service Administration. As you know, we continue to look for items and areas to improve. I noticed that my electric bill and my gas bill is not as, how can I say, less or cheap as it should be. So we're definitely going to have to look at who we have as a gas and electric supplier going ahead. I'm going to see if I can reach out to our current supplier, which is NOPEC, and see if there's anything they can do to help us maintain a better way of living and save us some money, because and help us gain some efficiencies as it pertains to our utilities, because the General Services Committee is also focused on giving us the most utility benefit that we can actually attain. So more to follow as we look for either a new supplier or a supplier that's willing to give us the benefit of having a supplier dedicated, one that we voted for at the ballot box. At this time, we'll call for remarks of the public. 2 minutes, please. Say again.
You're breaking up, sir. Okay, remarks of the public. Is there anybody wishing to speak?
Yeah, Omaze.
All right,
Yes,
Mr. Omaze, you have 2 minutes.
It's 3 minutes at the end of the meeting, not 2.
It's 2 minutes for this meeting, Mr. Omaze. Thank you.
Any emergency arrives in the city,
That is what you call a bad connection.
Mr. Omaze?
yeah, well, I was somebody's.
Somebody, Tracy, someone.
Yeah, I went and I muted everybody, so try
Okay.
again.
All right.
Go ahead, Mr. Omaze.
Okay, as I was, wait a minute. As I was saying earlier, any emergency arrives in the city of East Cleveland, the mayor shall inform council if he's cognizant of the emergency. That's the way government operates. It is not no one branch doing this. They work, there must be some cohesiveness here, working together. And if we don't work together, the city suffers as well as the residents of the city suffer as a result of the derelict in the responsibility of the people whom we hold charges and work at the behest of us, serve at the behest of us. Number two, the city cannot check with other cities as an emergency arrives. For an example, we do have mutual agreement services with the major cities to pick up people in a truck or whatever. That's just unheard of. And we've had ambulance down before. We utilize other municipalities to use their facilities at that time. And I think that's what we need to do. A closed mouth is never fed. I think each branch of government should stay in their lane. There's a branch, we have three branches of government. We have council, which is the most important branch of government because they do the authorizing, legislative, as well as approval for things to happen in the city. They carry the power. That's why it's 5 of them. And they must work together, not working against each other. There must be some cohesiveness going on in the city among the council as well as administration. I cannot fathom why we keep buying all of these cars. We just bought new cars last year and also beginning of this year. Why we keep buying all of these new cars? Where there is no vision, the city perish. And that doesn't seem to be a vision here in this city. And I hope you take it and digest it, and because the citizens suffering as a result of the bickering and the no cohesiveness here. This government should be working together. We are all basically one color, and we can't even work together and do things in the best interest of the city. You're working at the behest of us. We call the shots at the end of the day. So I hope you recognize those factors and let's get ourselves together. Any money that comes through the city and you enter into contract, that has landed folks in jail, and they still have jail cells for you today. When you enter into contracts, it should come before council, and council approves it, or whatever the case may be. And I don't care whether it's an emergency or non-emergency. That's the way government operates.
Thank you, Mr. O'Mays.
Kelvin Irby, 14802 Elm Avenue. I also have a disagreement with statements that were made tonight. I'm very upset with not hearing about anything for our citizens with this rodent control, anything to be done with raccoons that are coming through the field, deers that's coming into our cities. There's nothing that you guys are doing collaboratively to keep our family members safe. The purchasing a vehicle, there's nothing you said about getting an animal trap or animal keeper. You said nothing about putting anything in place to prevent this from getting into our cities. You have more raccoons, vermin in our city, in our homes, invading our properties, and there's nothing that you guys are doing. If you call critter control right now, it's $250 to remove a rodent, when technically their city is supposed to be baiting these fields so they don't come to our homes. And then the property value is so low in this city, it's like you living in a different location because you get to laugh at us looking at the bottom of the hill. I'm not ashamed to say I live in East Cleveland, but at least show something that makes East Cleveland feel like we're getting our bang for our buck. The interest rights needs of the people are being heard, and stop the disrespect that we say every day. You up there making a fools out of those that voted to keep you in. And like I said, election time, I won't be putting a vote in. I'm sick of the garbage that we see here. And a young man that I just dropped off said, wow, is this what I got to look forward to in the city that I'm living in? Come on, y'all wake up. This is too late to be keep trying to do garbage from last year and the year before that.
Are there any other remarks from the
Yeah.
public?
Thank you.
Yeah, hello?
What's this here?
Yeah, Delder.
Hello?
Yeah, hello. This is Justin.
Hello?
Anderson. Justin Anderson. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Okay, yeah. So I wanted to talk a little bit about that contract with 3D Moore tearing down that building. We read the law. It does not say an emergency means that you could do what you want, tear it down and come back later. That's not what it says. Section D was clear in that law. Also, I know y'all are mostly lazy. Most of these council people, y'all are mostly lazy, so y'all probably won't go and look this up. But it's a national case that they even teach in law school. I'm sure Miss Hemmings probably taught some of her students that when she was a professor, but it's called Frisbee versus the city of East Cleveland. And what happened was on Dome Avenue in East Cleveland, some pipes burst. And it was out of control. It was about in 1920 something. It was almost over 100 years ago. But the case is still law. And what happened was the pipes burst. So the contractor came and fixed all the pipes and fixed everything under Dome Avenue. And what happened was he came to the city for his payment, and the council at the time said, "No, we're not paying you." And he took the city to court, tried to sue him, and the judge ruled that he did not come before them, so he has to pay. He doesn't get his money. And if you read that Frisbee versus East Cleveland, when he did those pipes, he didn't come before the council for approval, and then he came afterwards because someone in the city had told him to do it. Someone high up, I guess. And the judge ruled that the city did not have to pay him, and he didn't get paid for doing those pipes under Dome Avenue. It's called Frisbee versus East Cleveland. And that's the same thing that happened here. It happened here. Daryl Moore, or 3D Moore, the company, tore down this building. He pulled a permit, a water permit, a whole month after the building was torn down, or almost 2 months after. He didn't, and the dates were all screwed up. Even in from what I've seen from the records that the public records that I saw, the fire report in it says something 1820 Noble Road, but the demo that y'all talking about is 1820, but the fire report says 1828 Noble Road. But y'all talking about 1820, I believe, but pretty much the fire report is not the same address as Noble. And then, like I said, all these permits were pulled later on, months later. And then, why is 3D Moore tearing down this building? Why is he tearing down everything? It just doesn't make any sense to me. Something isn't right. So yeah, he's supposed to come before council, and I still haven't heard any law that says he doesn't have to. I read Section D of 1311, and it says that he must come before council as it's over 7,500. If it's an emergency, they can have an emergency meeting at any time. But this guy just tore down the building, and he waits 6 months to come and ask for his money. Something's not right. When you tear down something, you got dumping fees. So you mean to tell me this man spent $50, $60 or more $1,000 of his own money to dump this whole building, and now he waited 6 months to get his money? No, they don't do that. When people tear down a building, they might pay the dump fees, and then they get their money within a reasonable time frame back. This dude waited 6 months, and now I don't know if he's that rich where he waits 6 months. But if he is, shoot, something's going on with that.
Justin Anderson.
Yeah.
Mentioned Marlboro's, about the hole in Marlboro's in Euclid. Go back to that date also if you can. It's the same thing we've been arguing about. When the hole
Okay.
fell in
Anybody have anything else? Any other
Yes,
comments from the public?
Yes, I have a comment.
Okay.
Can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Your name,
I'm
please?
Dolores Harris, and I wanted to know, will there be a forum for the mayors, the candidates for mayors? How would I come about listening to their agenda, how they plan to run the city, or did that happen already?
Oh no, we'll have one coming up soon.
Can I respond to her to that?
Please.
No, Counselor, you know, we were
Yeah,
responding at the end.
we will wait. The governor said that.
Yeah, you know, we were supposed.
Can you hear me, young lady? Yeah. Young
Yes, I
lady.
can.
Okay, the
Councilor
governor
Martin.
said that we can take off the mask June 2nd. So that means we can start coming together. I'm having something
Hey, Counselor Martin.
in
you
June.
notice to the end?
Once I can confirm the place where we're gonna have all the mayoral candidates from East Cleveland, hopefully to attend. So I'm gonna give you my number. So I'm Councilman Nathaniel Martin, and my cell phone is 216-417-9808. And I'm looking for
Counselor Martin, can you notice to the end?
216-417-9808. That's my cell phone number. I'm looking for technically, so that Mayor Brandon would know, we're looking for June 16th. Library.
Okay.
I'm gonna have all the mayoral candidates there, and they'll be given 5 to 10 minutes to speak. We're not gonna have a debate. We have 5 to 10 minutes to speak, and they take 2 or 3 questions so we can get through it. Again, I'm shooting for June 16th.
Hey, Counselor Martin.
Cleveland Library. Thank you.
Okay, thank
you. Okay, well.
What?
I need to say something.
Hello, anyone else? Any other public?
22nd of this month, that's Saturday, 22nd, there will be a candidate debate.
Hey, hold on one second. Hey, clerk, mute all the mics for a second so I get this clear.
You know, she no longer our.
Thank you. Check this out. I know we are eager to express our point. I would like to do this. We've been pretty orderly and everybody will have an opportunity to speak if you haven't already. Councilor Martin,
I would ask you to arrive early because.
Mute that again for me, please.
Number of people, so please come out and hear those.
There you go, sir.
We can go intelligent.
So, Councilor Martin, you will have an opportunity to tell about your forum. You know, we wait to the end after all the public has spoken. We take the opportunity to respond to you accordingly. It's unfortunate that we have somebody that is, you know, trying to be persistently disruptive in these very important meetings.
Yes.
So, it's critical that we do, you know, conduct ourselves as professionals throughout. I know we're excited about certain things, but we're going to have opportunity to express those things that we're excited about. So, do we have any other members of the public that would like to speak at this time? Okay, hearing none. Councilor Martin?
You want me to make remarks?
Yes, please.
Okay, this Saturday, there is going to be a congressional, it's going to be on Facebook and all that at the library. But from the people I've spoke with and our former council person, O'Mays, is on the library board, but I think you have to have an invitation. Okay, well, I'm not going to debate that. So if you show, fine.
Yes.
What I need to say is that we have a lot that we need to do, and we're not going to be perfect. We'll never be perfect. We're flawed. Okay. And I am going to rise to speak to say that any corporation, any vendor, issue is that individual or that corporation needs to be paid.
How disrespectful, he keep muting
You
you.
have to work that out. My grandmother always taught me.
Mr. Martin, you keep fading in and out.
No, he
I also
keeps
need to
being
say that
muted.
the
He's not
council
fading in
functions
and out,
as a
he's being
body,
muted.
not one person. We're a body. So singling out purple and all doesn't get us anywhere, because ultimately either you got 3 votes or 4 votes to move anything forward. I'm about us moving forward. I'm about what I've been dealing with for so long, our police and fire, that we take care of them, that they have the best body cams, they have the best vehicles, that we need to do that. and that they pick up our people when they're sick, or get them down to University Hospital, wherever I see them taking them all the time. Positively, the media, and I tell the media, if you're going negative, we're getting Euclid.
How disrespectful.
That's a win-win.
Councilor Martin. Councilor Martin.
Okay, the mayor has done.
Wow, unbelievable.
Councilor Martin, is somebody touching that little?
We need to work together. I don't emotions because you say things that you want to regret. I always say, let's do what if we're going to turn this thing around. If what has happened in the last 20-something years is our tax base has not been where it needs to be.
Yeah.
That means getting people to move in, to buy houses, etc. Then we can have a giant eagle here. Then we can have all the things that we want. Is that it can African Americans do government?
No.
I think we have the right mindset.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Councilor Martin.
Yes.
I don't know if you know, but that you were going in and out.
Wasn't going in and out. He's being muted.
And I think that as you continue to kind of speak, you should probably watch how your equipment is being managed, because when somebody touches your equipment, it fades out completely.
It mutes.
So yeah, I think you should do that next time. Make sure that your equipment is not being manipulated in any way. Councilwoman Gowdy. Councilor Gowdy.
Yes,
Do you have any final comments?
Yes, my final comment is, even though we did the cleanup, and I know that it went successful in some areas, but a lot of areas,
you playing with that thing, man.
No, he's not. Can you hear me?
We can hear you.
Okay.
Good. Okay. So, my thought is, you know, because I don't want to, I got to stay focused. I know that we did the cleanup and it went successful in a lot of ways, but some people just didn't get the quality of getting their stuff picked up. And we have like tires. We have tires and stuff all around. We have tires and stuff all around. And that didn't get picked up over there. Where was it at? Where was it at? Where was it at? Over there, Miss Beaumont. Over there in the Miss Beaumont area.
The microphone is attached to the camera. Don't touch your camera. That's what's turning off the microphone.
Okay, Nate. She said it's the camera, Nate. What? She said it was the camera.
Yeah, you can't touch the camera. That's where the microphone is attached to.
And out in the camera. So you have to speak loudly into the camera.
Well, I'm sitting right there, as loud as I speak.
No. Quiet down,
I'm
y'all,
really,
Councilwoman Gowdy, are you finished? Are you
so
finished?
the cleanup was the cleanup.
See how she's in close to the camera.
Can you calm them down?
The cleanup was successful, but we needed other people to actually to start like our service department to go around and picking up all these tires that's all over the place. And they have thrown couches and making dumps beside houses and stuff like that. This is really terrifying our whole city and the people that lives in our city. And we need to know that we have to go around and do better. Look at the people homes on the side of their houses at these empty vacant lots and stuff like that. These tires, can you hear me?
Yeah. We can hear you.
Okay, thank you. These tires definitely need to be picked up. Garbage need to be picked up. Couches need to be picked up. And then when they tear down these houses, rodents is all over the place. And deers and stuff is coming out now. And the raccoon, and all that. And we supposed to been having a grocery store way back, like a couple years, and we don't have no grocery stores, and people is complaining about the store that they have to go to, Seymour's now, because it was Coney's. But I see some work is being done, but it's not being done to the fullness, to the best of the people's standards. See, we have standards that when we go to different places and stuff, we shouldn't have to see walking across the street and seeing all this garbage and stuff all over the place. And I'm going to ask the court, if you don't mind, to have the court to help involve themselves in community service of helping these people, because it's a need.
Great, thank you very
It's a
much,
need.
Councilwoman. Thank you.
And Nate, please let Nate talk again, because it was not nobody. It was this Canberra or whatever it was. But Nate do need to say something, and it's very important to hear us all. Can he have another? You please let him have another chance. Thank you.
I will. Hey, Mayor King, would you take this opportunity to address the concerns of the people?
Yes. I have.
You're welcome.
I have a thank you note. I have a request or an ask, and then I have just a brief closing remark. I'd like to thank everybody for coming out tonight. I'd like to thank you, Councilman Austin, Chair of General Services, for allowing us to have a full discussion. One of, I'm sure, will be many discussions regarding the master lease and the 5-year forecast, and of course, the fire and it paying vendor.
Yes.
I know that this is a committee meeting, and I kind of like the relaxed atmosphere, that we can, relax a little bit. So it's not the formal meeting where everything's more, and as it should be. And we talked tonight about how, because of the complement of council people, you really have health and safety, and you have general services. So my request or my ask is of Councilman Nathaniel Martin. Ordinance 45-21, you can speak to it now. You can put it on the floor. You can move it forward. If you're about the health and safety of the residents and you want to pay Donald Trump or whoever, you can move this tonight. It doesn't have to wait. It can go in any committee. I was on council. I know it can go in any committee. Don't have to go in a prescribed committee. Any legislation can go in any committee. I'm a former councilman. I know that. So I'm asking Councilman Martin, show me your sincerity, right? Show me how you believe in our safety forces, police and fire, right? I'm not going to apologize for earlier, but I'm going to say this. I know it's a relaxed atmosphere, right? And I thank you for that. However, I got a little teed off when you say how you love the city, how you support fire, EMS, you support local businesses, sitting over there laughing, right? Sitting over there laughing while we have fire, EMS going to service calls in a pickup truck, going to help residents, life in danger, right? While we got police need vehicles, while we need this master lease, you over there laughing. I got a little ticked off with that. So I apologize for that. That's my ask, that's my request, right? What I would simply say to council in particular, and everyone else on the line that's listening, you hear a lot of talk. Me, myself, I try now, as I did when I was on council, to defer to the trained experts, people who are well-educated, certified, degreed in their area of study and expertise as it relates to interpretation, right? You get someone who, they know law, they know building and housing, they know how to fix a car. If you go to them, I believe these same people will prescribe your glasses because they just know everything, yet they certified, trained, educated in nothing. They can't show you a degree for nothing. So I would just ask, particularly council, to defer to the experts. people who are trained and educated who can speak on these things as certified professionals. Unless there are any questions or concerns of anything I just said, that's it. And I turn it back over to Councilman Nathaniel Martin, right?
Right.
Do the right thing. Councilman Austin, thank you.
Well, in my mind, can you hear me? Because I'm not going to go through this again and nobody hears me.
We
Can
can
you
hear
hear
you
me?
fine, sir.
Okay. Number one,
Hey, Councilman
I
Martin.
have a
Councilman
record
Martin.
of, yes. You
Do me a
can't hear
favor.
me, Mr. Austin?
I can hear you. I can hear you very well. I'm going to ask that if you could be so kind as to, we all respect your experience on council and we respect you. I just want to share that with you. Can you look up at the camera, please? Look at the
Yeah.
screen. Can you see me?
Yeah,
I just want to tell you that I respect you.
Thank
And that
you.
I'm counting on you. So if you could be so kind as to those things that didn't have value, or some of the things need to pass, some of the sand need to pass through the big rocks. So you one of those big rocks. So let the small sand pass and just kind of focus on the things that we can do to move the city forward, and focus on the things that you are.
So are you,
all the,
Mr. Austin, are you telling me what to say?
No, I'm asking you to some of the things that
Ordinance 4521. That's all.
Some of the things that were, hey, hold on one second. Some of the things that were expediters, ignore them. But we're gonna roll with the big stuff so we can make a difference and change the game for the city. Simply put, thank you.
All right, so do I get to say something now so people can hear me?
Yes, sir.
Okay, historically, and you always have to go historically, we've always supported good equipment for police and fire, good body cams for our fire department, good cars, all of that. We've been consistent about that, okay? Again, we function as a body. That's not just one council person, me. And I'll be humble and say I'm very knowledgeable, but I also understand they have to have the votes to get something done. Now, we talked about the cars. I even raised the stakes a little bit. They say, let's get 6 cars, okay? All the legislation that's been discussed today,
Make sure they can hear you.
we supported it. I supported it, regardless of the fact that I really think this should have came under the Health and Safety Committee. I didn't get bogged down in that kind of thing, because the most important thing we must do is move forward. We have got to take care of the business. I reached out to Brandon King, the mayor, to see with some of this COVID money we got coming in, that we're not going to ever get again, that see if we can use some of that money to get the kind of equipment we want. Okay, to take care of our police and our fire, which has helped us subsidize their payment. I've been consistent about that. We've been consistent about that. Okay, I am concerned that some council people have information that's shared and some council people don't. And I've seen that going on consistently, but I try to deal with it the best way I can. Now, I'm on record since I've been pointed out. Number one, if a vendor comes in here and they do the business, number one, they get paid. Number two, looking out for our police, ambulances, and our fire, ambulances, and the 2 things that our fire chief said we needed. But even more importantly, our police that's out there every day dealing with the element that they have the best equipment. And I may be redundant, but I'm going to tell you about the body cams. I said, not just average body cams, the best, okay? I have met with the police chief more than anybody in the last 5 or 6 months, and in the last 20 years,
yes.
Okay? I've taken it to another level. We're reaching out to Shaw students to show you how connected I am or dedicated I am, to make sure that we transition them into the police department and the fire department for those who are not going to college, okay? That can be confirmed. We started meeting a couple of weeks ago. I said, we got to get our kids to be police. We got to get our kids to be fire people. Now, this legislation and that's what we do, legislate and appropriate as a council, I support it. Even though I go back and you can hit me in the head, it's a health and safety issue. These are health and safety issues. If you look at my record,
Make the motion. Make the motion.
okay, if you look at my
Nate, your microphone just went out.
Nathaniel Martin, we can't hear you.
Councilman
Somebody
Martin,
mute
you're
the
on
mic.
mute. Councilman Martin. Come on, unmute yourself so you can make that, motion. Ordinance 4521.
whether it's 4521 or 4581, if it's going to benefit our citizens and if it's going to benefit our fire and police, you know I'm on that. You know that, okay? I appreciate being able. The last couple of times that I've spoken, all of a sudden, for some reason, I go out because I have something to say. Okay, I have something to say.
You're out again. You're out again.
I don't know what's going on. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay, so we're going to get that done. Not just Martin, Brandon, but the entire council. Okay.
Okay. I was just trying to twist your arm a little bit. That's
right. And I'm all right with that. Again, any vendor that comes in here to do business, okay, and I use as a paradox Donald Trump. If he comes in here and tear down a house, pay his corporation. Okay, so that's where I'm at. So I'm hoping that we can work out the bugs in this situation with what happened on Noble Road. So and then I'm an old-fashioned kind of guy because I think common sense is important. Wow. That we use common sense to get this done. So keep us in prayer because we need it. All right. I pray for you, Brandon.
I pray for you.
And I have hopes that we can go to another level. Okay.
You pray for me,
and I pray for the council.
All right.
We have done, I think we've done well under your leadership. I think that we have done well. And we just need to keep learning and growing. Okay. Okay. And that's where I'm at. People asked me, they said, Martin, I said, I'm not going to go this time. Yeah. And I left it alone, but a bunch of people approached me and said, we need your intellect. We need the stability that you brought to this council. So I said, I'll give it another 40 years. Next year, I'll be, if I last that long, come on.
So you think that's okay for them guys to be making all that noise in the background?
This is my 28th year, going on my 28th year. I'm the longest serving councilman. My mind is still sharp and I want to serve the people. I have spoken. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak again. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Great. Thank you very much. And I want to go back to some of the comments and or concerns of the residents that spoke this evening. I think I took a note about the rodent control. We actually do have rodent control right now. Mayor King, if you would speak to the status of that contract. There you go.
Can you hear me, Councilman Austin?
I can hear you. Those cages are to be loaned to our residents and they're marked and numbered. Is that right, Mayor King?
Yes. So as we talked about in your committee, I can't thank you enough for letting us bring to your committee this different things. So we got these cages anticipating the need for from last year when we hired the rodent control. I can't think of the name of the company, but we hired them and we knew we needed cages that we could then have residents call, get the cage, right? And they can use it at their house. And once something is in here, they can call a number and someone from the city or from the rodent control company will come pick the cage up and take care of the remnants in the cage. So we got the cage, I want to say maybe 2 months ago. We were waiting on these metal plates and the clips to tie them on it. So it's all stainless steel. They came in, we had the service guys put them on all of the cages. The final piece is that we're working on a document that residents will have to sign these out, and there'll be a deposit in case something happens to this cage. It's like $100 cage. The deposit will probably be maybe $50 is what we're estimating, but we're working on that document now from the law department so residents can come get this. And again, you come get it, you sign it out, it'll have a number, you take it. If it catches something, you call a number, someone will come pick it up. If you need another one bought out, we'll do that. If you're good, then we're good. So we got 30 of them, and it will be the first 30, first come, first serve. So they are ready to go. We're just working on the document, on the contract. Thank you.
Great. Thank you very much, Mayor King. And there was also some discussion about a lot of debris that's still as a residue from the cleanup. So there's still debris out there. What Mr. Marshall, our service department director, is that we provide them. Please mute that mic, Madam Clerk.
We gotta pick up another seat of the council.
Yeah, so what the service director asked, if there are still couches or large debris or bags that were not gathered during the consolidated cleanup that we had as a community, provide him the addresses of those dump sites and or couches or large number of tires. And I know that the city and the police are aware of a large amount of tires that was mentioned by Councilwoman Gowdy. That is something that we're addressing. The resident at that location had been approached by the police, I believe, and the service department to address those consolidated tires. And I don't know if they've gotten a date for cleanup. Oftentimes they get a little time to clean those tires up. So more to follow, because I did talk to that same resident that you talked to. So like I say, if you have those items that were not cleaned up as a result, as agreed by the council, I'm speaking for Councilman Austin and the service department director for cleanup. I guess I'll give you his number again. Mayor King, if you have that information easily available, excuse me, can you give Mr. Marshall's number again?
I apologize. I don't have his number on the top of my head, but if you call 681-2211, that is Renee. She's a phenomenal person that would take that information and get it to the proper person to pick it up. And our apologies for not picking it up, but we will get it. Just call 681-2211 and give Renee that information.
Right. So we the door and the window has not closed on the cleanup. We ensure our folks that participate that we're going to do our part to get that squared away. Although today the window has already closed, we're still working to take care of. And I think that was about it, except for some of the areas, that we still have some potholes and some other stuff we're going to eventually address. And we are moving in the right direction. And I'm so thankful. Subject to your question and or concerns, this concludes my discussion, as well as I'm going to adjourn the General Service Administration meeting at 8:08 p.m.
Thank you, Councilman.
Thank you, General Service.
Councilman Martin.
Thank you. Y'all enjoy. Be blessed.
Yeah.
We gotta get Ernest off. Once we
Wait,
get
just
Ernest.
turn this off.
No, I saw it.